Welcome to Pigskin Report Podcast edition number 80. My name is Paul. Everybody knows Bert. Bert, would you like to introduce the young man who's on the hot seat?
Yes. Keyshawn Smith, Lincoln High School. God, I still want to say Miami Hurricanes, but I'm not going to say it.
Well, not wearing that T-shirt. Not wearing that T-shirt. Keyshawn, the reason why we're having you on is because we've been talking about the transfer portal a lot, and we're going to get to that, I promise. But the topic of the day, as we record this on Tuesday, was what happened last night in Cincinnati. It was a very horrific scene of a young man, not much older than you are, suffering a life-threatening injury on the field. And I'm just curious, how does that affect? I know you have aspirations to be on that field one day, and you play in this collision sport. Does that get inside your head? Does something like that, do you worry about stuff like that, or do you see it as a random, just one of those things that could happen anywhere in life?
Absolutely. It is very, concerning, and, you think about it all the time, but it's just, you love the game of football, but we take that concept a little bit too far sometimes. We don't mean it in a literal sense of, I'll die for this game. Yeah, you mean it, but it's just, it's kind of crazy that just happened, though. It's very concerning for the players and the athletes. Very concerning.
Does it scare you?
Yeah, it's very scary. It's just, you got to take extra precaution now. Will I stop playing because it happened? No. But,
and that, that's a good point, because, playing, you always worry about, am I going to blow out my knee and not be able to get drafted and make a lot of money? Or, recently CTE, but it's crazy because, you've played at the highest level in college. That wasn't a brutal hit by any means. That was an everyday hit. That you see all the time. It's just like a fluke pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it while I was playing that would you go out next week and be like, all right, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too. You don't know what's going to happen. It's any given Saturday, any given Sunday, so you just got to take precaution for it.
All right, I know you're not on the campus of SMU yet, but you've played at a major university at Miami. As far as the medical personnel that's on the field and whatnot, does it feel like you have quality individuals up and down the sidelines, be it at practice and at games, that they're doing their best to look out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. They take it very serious. Their job, our trainers at Miami, Tim Pike was one of the greatest trainers. It's just they're outnumbered, so they can't assist everybody 100%.
Right.
They do a very well job though, but it's just you can't support everybody, you can't help everybody all at one time, and they try to for the most part they try to take everybody that has the most serious injuries, they try to get them out the way first.
Can we talk about Miami a little bit? Because I watch you, and of course I hated that Pitt game because you killed us in that game, but you're going there and you're projecting your classes to be a first rounder for that class. You're just killing it there, and then all of a sudden a new coach comes. What transpires then?
It didn't bother me that we had new coaches because I know I could play football. So, honestly, I couldn't tell you guys what happened. I don't know. It's a crazy story. I'll probably tell you guys off the camera, but
you can tell us on. You're already off.
Right.
You're in Dallas now.
Keyshawn, I want to say we don't want you to go in any water that you're not comfortable going into. So, but safe to say things went south, right?
Yeah, and things went south, and it just is what it is, and God had another plan for me.
Things went south.
All right, so the decision to go into the portal. First of all, I assume you're glad you have that option. If 20 years ago you wouldn't have, or 10 years ago you wouldn't have.
Let me go on that, because that's a good point. Because everybody says the portal's horrible, it's terrible, but you're right. 10 years ago when I played, we had a new coach come in, and it was fortunate for me because it just worked out. But you're right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't recruit you. They don't have any ties to you. They don't care about you. They have their own guys. They don't have a relationship with your high school coach. So I guess we forget about that. We always say the portal's bad, but it does give opportunities that need to be given to a lot of players.
You're thankful for the portal, right?
Yeah, in my situation, I most definitely was, because it was like, I didn't enter the transfer portal because like I got in trouble. I didn't enter the transfer portal because of grades. I didn't enter the transfer portal because of playing time. It was just the situation that I was in. It was just a bad situation, and I had to separate myself from it. I wasn't myself. I wasn't happy, which is the most important part for a Division I athlete. Is you got to be happy in order to play football or to play any Division I sport.
But it wasn't always that way, right? I mean, getting to Miami, you're a San Diego kid. Miami is the next best place to live. If you can't be in San Diego, it's even warmer. There's a lot to do. You had to initially like your stay at Miami, did you not?
I loved it. I was in Miami, big chilling. Take care. That's what I'm saying. Like, I took care of what I had to do, and that's why it wasn't hard for me to find another school. And like, it could be the transfer portal. The transfer portal can be a good thing, and it also can be a bad thing for some people.
So I guess that's the question. Because I've been to Miami, my wife's family's from there, but it's like it's hard. I mean, Miami's beautiful. It's hard. Like, is it hard for you to say, all right? I mean, just say Pitt, for example. Say Pitt wants you. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be hard to be like, all right, I'm going to leave Coral Gables and then I'm going to go to Oakland and Pittsburgh. I mean, you have to. I mean, doesn't that play into it some? Even though you might love that school.
Yeah, that most definitely played a big part of my where I picked a different school. I'm coming from a big city. Went to another big city, probably even a bigger city. So I was like, I can't go in the middle of nowhere. But it's just like, but Miami's crazy though. It's a wild place.
Yeah. Well, it's a good place for a young person, is it not?
Good place for an old person too.
It's more of a place to travel and visit. It's not really a place to live.
It's kind of like UNLV. Like you don't want to be involved in that 24/7. Yeah, you don't want to. It's great to visit. But
I don't know. Did you ever spend any time on South Beach?
Oh yeah, I love the beach. I went to South Beach. I like Key West. South Beach is like tourist beach.
Oh yeah, I know it, dude. I used to live there.
Did you? Man?
I lived in Naples, so we always went to South Beach, and I went to Key West. I've been there dozens of times. So, I mean, I get the allure, but it gets old, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah.
Not even from Pittsburgh, it doesn't.
Those topless beaches.
So another question. So, was your original OC went to SMU, didn't he?
Yes, sir. He did, and the receiver.
Was that a big thing in your choice?
Yeah, I knew what I was getting into. When we spoke, it just felt like we never left. But I'm talking about the head coach and the receiver coach. When we spoke on the phone, it was like we never left. We picked up like it was normal. I still know the plays, so I don't have to go learn a whole new system again, which is very difficult for some people.
So,
including
Keyshawn, how does it work? You make the decision, okay, I'm out of here. At some point, you made that decision. Then do you get on the phone and start calling around? Do other people start calling you? What is the protocol of an athlete going through the portal?
So I had to actually wait because I entered the transfer portal before it actually opened. So I went with a couple more like games left. I think it was like 3 games left, and so that made it. I had to wait till December 5th to actually enter the transfer portal, and I couldn't talk to nobody until that date. And I think I told him I was planning on leaving it was November, early November. So I had to wait all the way to December 5th for me my name to actually be entered into the portal for me to talk to anybody. But the day I entered the portal, I talked to about 12 schools, 15 schools.
What's it like when you enter and then you have a month left and you got to go to a facility every day and interact with coaches? What's that like?
So I knew I was all right, so any school that called me in the code, I didn't want to go.
No, I mean in Miami, you enter in Miami.
Did you feel like an outcast? You've made the decision to leave, but you can't really identify where you're going, so you're stuck on campus doing whatever you.
school. I had to finish school. I did that. I did well my last semester. I was the semester before, I was an ACC honor roll student. I had to finish school, do all that, and once I finished, I left. Packed everything, and then took a visit to San Diego State, and then took another visit from San Diego State to SMU. I ain't even get to go home.
No. You're but coaches. So you walk into your receiver, individual meeting rooms. Do they even look at you once you're in the portal, or they give you dirty looks? What happens?
Oh, nah. They was like, well, I had told them, and
you're choosing your words now. Look at this.
Keyshawn, go ahead. Choose your words carefully. A lot of people are going to see this, so I encourage you to be careful. So, I mean, do you feel like an outsider on your own campus?
Crazy. I can tell you guys, it's nothing crazy. So it was just like I told them, and they was just like, all right. And at the time, I had a concussion, so like they were thinking that my concussion was causing me to act like this, and I was like, nah. I'll take a break. We'll take a break when we come back. If your head's still like, then we come back and talk about it. And then if you still want to leave, we can help you out, see what you want to do. And that was pretty it though. And I went there.
You mentioned San Diego State. What? I mean, how come you didn't want to come? Because we'd love to see you come here. But.
Yeah, we would love to watch you play.
So I picked from 3 schools. So I had quite a few offers from some good schools, and I immediately, probably a week after talking to the schools, I narrowed them down to 3.
Which 3?
Because it was San Diego State, Arizona, U of A, and SMU. And I knew I didn't have a lot of time to pick from a school, because if I waited, then if I would have waited, and the deadline for me to be inside of a school would be over with, because it's so confusing, and it's so many rules and guidelines that you gotta, and it's just a lot of people, a lot of student athletes get tricked over because it's they don't know it, and it's just all bad. That's what I'm saying. It's a blessing and a curse for some people.
So I was surprised because originally you committed to Washington State, right? Out of high school, out of Lincoln. They weren't on the list for the transfer.
No, yeah, I signed to Washington State, and Mike Leach, rest in peace, his soul. I committed to Mike Leach. They had the #1 passing offense in the country at the time. They were legit, and then I guess college football, they got a better opportunity, and they took it, and they took their whole coaching staff. Receiver coach, the whole OC, everybody. And I was like, man. And I was able to get out of it because they didn't have a head coach.
Right.
I got out of it, and I was able to talk to schools again. And then Miami called me. I ain't even it was Coach Phil, the tight end coach. He called me. I ain't even let him finish the sentence.
Yes. Yes. I'll come. Mm-hmm. Hey, tell us a Mike Leach story. Did you have any interesting contact with him?
Who?
Mike Leach, Coach Leach.
Oh, we were in his office. He had a bunch of random stuff in there.
Like what?
He had a painting of himself.
It was Paul has one of those in his office.
Yeah, but he had but it wasn't his body though. It was just his face on it. Then
that's what he
had. The dude was naked. He had a towel cover. And he had a cougar. He had a life-size cougar in there. He had a bunch of just a random stuff, but it was all antique, cool stuff. It was different, and that's why I liked him, and that's why I wanted to play for him.
Yeah, I completely understand that. So, just because I don't want to gloss by, San Diego State was in the running. Was what eliminated them from your choice?
Honestly, I feel if I would have stayed home, I live an exit away from San Diego State. I could walk there, to be honest. And I feel it would be a distraction. I'm close with everybody that I know, friends, family. And I just feel it would probably be a big distraction, especially now.
And we saw you at the Lincoln game, the Open Championship.
Yeah.
And seeing you there, I thought you were going to go to San Diego State actually.
Yeah, that's why I thought you were going to.
I was considering it, but I had to like really think about it, and like this decision was like really like life changing. So I had to make the best decision for me and my family, and I feel like I made the right choice though.
Hold on, you've been through the whole. I want to talk about Lincoln because you've been through the whole, Lincoln process pretty much. I mean, started in it. I mean, how cool is that to see him end up like number 3 in the state, beat De La Salle in the state championship? I mean, you've been there from the start to the end pretty much.
Yeah, Coach Carter helped out a lot. I'm gonna start by saying that Coach Dunn, Coach Carter came in. Coach Dunn was doing it by himself at the point in time, but then Coach Carter came in and stepped in and helped a lot of us. He's a big role model to a lot of us. Me and him was just talking the other day. Coach Carter has about 54 dudes in college right now that he's training in San Diego. And seeing him, because I know we went to state, but we lost. So seeing them win was like if I was there. Like I was so excited to see them win. I'm excited to see Rod to go play at Georgia. To see like all them little dudes just be having fun out there, reminding me of myself and like all my other teammates when we was there.
So your team that went to state, if they were to play this year's team that won state,
you stole my question.
What would the score be?
We'll win.
Oh, you beat them?
Yeah, we'll beat the brakes off them.
Wow.
Who's going to stop Rod?
You said what?
Who's going to stop number 2 from steamrolling your defense? I mean, that guy was a horse.
We had Teray Kirkland. We had Akili. We had some dudes. Yeah, I know you remember them.
Sure.
We remember. I think they would have beat the brakes off you guys, to be honest with you.
I don't know. This was a pretty generational team, but we'll let that debate go. The fact that you can have it, the fact that you can have a debate like that about your school speaks volumes about your school, does it not?
Exactly.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it does. And then for Rod to be the number 1 player in California and to come from Southeast San Diego and play at Lincoln High School, it's just a blessing for the city. And so like seeing all that unfold while I'm doing good too, on the other end of the country is just it's just seeing people happy, seeing people doing what they love to do is just a blessing.
And it's rare. I mean, you get the best defensive player, Josiah Cox, and the best offensive player on the same team.
On the same team, and then
it's pretty rare.
In between those two guys
are
another dozen D1 players. I don't know. I hope I live long enough to see another team like that, but I've gotten to see, as Keyshawn mentions, a couple now. And let's not forget about the Cathedral teams.
Yeah, the year before.
Hey, Keyshawn, getting back to the portal, because I just don't want to leave this, because Bert, my esteemed colleague, actually made a very impressive point, I thought. He was talking about the decision to go in the portal. He goes, what would you rather do? Compete against the other 5 wide receivers that are on campus, be it under new circumstances with a new coach or whatever, or compete with the 75 receivers that are in the transfer portal trying to find a place to land. Could you discuss that equation a little bit? I mean, some people would say, why not just try to slug it out on the campus and earn your way back into the playing time that you once had?
And hold on before you answer that, because I'm going to preface that with you, because you're a little different, because you were, like I said, the number 1 in your class, projected first rounder, probably the best kickoff returner in college football. New coach comes in, it's not about competing anymore. It's about a whole different dynamic. So,
well, winning his trust or whatever.
Yeah, but he's not one of the ones that was worried about playing time. It's about a new coach and new relationship, which all day I think those kids should leave.
Okay, so do you get the question, Keyshawn?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was like never about playing time. But so like the best way I could describe this is, can you repeat the first part of the question?
Okay, my question is, you had a decision. You were facing a decision, and every college athlete that goes into the portal has the same decision. You have a finite number of guys you're competing with on campus at your position. I don't know, how many receivers are there in the program? 8, 9?
It wasn't even a lot. And I was going to leave. It was like I thought about leaving in the spring. And I had that thought in my head, that same thought, like, nah, let me just thug it out, you know? I'm like, I could do better than that. Like, I know I could, like, you know, like, but it was like, that's the thing. It was never about the playing time. Cause like, I was still doing well, you know? So it was just like, in my opinion, but to them, I wasn't, I guess, you know, but like, I was going to leave in the spring after the spring game of last year. And like, they were calling me, and the coach called me, my position coach, and he told me that like they thought I was like, it was about, because they brought another receiver in. I just knew, like, I just had that vibe with like it just wasn't like our relationship, like you guys said, is like the player to coach trust, the player to coach relationship. It wasn't there.
So it's about quality of life then.
Huh?
It's about quality of life. I mean, you have to be happy.
I wasn't happy at all.
Okay. It makes sense.
So I got to ask him, because, you know, all right, you're too young to remember this, but Paul and I remember SMU, and we always think Eric Dickerson, money, you know,
who was the other guy?
Craig James.
Craig James, thank you.
We always think of them. So is SMU big in the NIL, or are they part of that? I'm not asking you personally. I'm just saying overall. Because now they call it NIL. Before we just called it, you know, buying people.
Yeah, that played a big part of my decision as well.
Oh, so that big gold KS right there.
We had Dave Wanstad on the podcast the week prior, before you, and we had him on. We were talking about NIL money. Wanstad coached at Pitt, Burt School. He also coached in the NFL at Miami and Bears. So he's been around the block. He's old. He's our age, or he's my age, or maybe older than me, right? Anywho, he was talking about NIL money, and he said now every player's getting something. But he goes, they're not shoveling out money like it's being reported. Could you give us an idea of, on a football team like SMU, how many guys have NIL benefits, and is it substantial?
Well, I can't tell you about SMU because I haven't really, I don't know too many of the players just yet, but at Miami, it was more about what you've been doing and on the field. It's more you just say if a kid from a high school that's a 4 or 5 star comes in, you're gonna get some money, but you're not gonna get millions of dollars just because you're a 5 star. You haven't played it down to college football yet. You think you're gonna get $1 million?
Yeah, and yet we're hearing those reports though, Keyshawn. So do you just roll your eyes and laugh?
I mean, not a little bit, cause it's just because yeah, we're getting paid. Student athletes are getting paid, but it's just you have to prove to yourself that you're worthy, that you can help the team out, and that you're it's a lot to it, man. It's just, I wonder how the NFL is gonna be if it's like this right now.
So, but they're not handing out credit cards at Miami or something and saying just.
Oh no.
So it's not much different than the old days when we would get paid, but you weren't allowed to get paid. But it was, you get promised a certain amount in high school, you get there, you never get that amount. And then if you were good, it was like a week-to-week contract, you'd get paid pretty much.
So if you had a big game, you got a little something?
Or if you were just a starter and a good player, you would get paid. But I mean, if you're a 5-star and you go on a campus and all of a sudden you don't play it down in 4 years, you're not getting any money.
Nah, not at all. You're not gonna get a dime. You have to produce. If you're not producing, if you're a backup player, you're not gonna have NIL things. And it's also about who you know. It's also about your social media. If you have a big social media platform, you get serious endorsement deals and just stuff like that. That's what it's really all about. NIL is really about making money off of your name. It's not about football.
Interesting. So it's social media driven then.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
How much time do you spend on your social media stuff?
I don't spend too much time on it. I was just thinking about I should start making reels and stuff about what I do on a daily basis just so I could grow my platform. But we don't really have time for all that, to be honest.
Right.
I'm worried.
I see. To me, Keyshawn would be if I'm looking to sponsor an athlete, I'd want him right now. Good athlete, great personality. Just kind of, he's one of those people that draws you in. I mean, Keyshawn, I'm just
So I got to ask, that begs the question. So you're not going to sell out, and I'm going to see you next year on this podcast wearing a cowboy hat, Wranglers, big belt buckle, rodeo belt buckle. You're not going to, you are in Dallas.
Shell Mobile.
Yeah, you are in Dallas. Are you going to be dressing like a cowboy now?
I ain't gonna, I'm always come back. I can't never forget where I came from.
All right, so no cowboy hat, no boots.
Well, speaking of which.
Cowboys, if I'm, wherever I go, it don't matter where I play for. It doesn't matter. If the Cowboys want to sign me and do a deal, I'm signing to the Cowboys.
Oh, stop.
All right. Keyshawn, you brought it up, and I want to wrap this up because I promised you to keep
You're
it
always
under.
over.
I'm already 4 minutes over, Keyshawn, so I wrap it up here. You bring up, you remember where you're from. Well, I remember you from a show called The Prep Pigskin Report. Do you remember that show, and can you speak to what it meant to you as an athlete to be on it?
It meant a lot. It meant a lot because growing up in San Diego, like PPR was like one of the biggest news stations. Like I used to stay up and just so I could watch you guys and just so you guys could podcast the games. I'm watching everybody play in the city. Like I was like, man, I just want to be on PPR growing up. And being on being a finalist, like I wish I would have won, but
Who won that year?
Just to be up there, just to have that Leatherman jacket that you guys gave me, like I'll never forget that. Like you guys did so much for me. Like just the conversations that we've had off camera, Paul, with me and you, is just like, it's just a blessing. You too, Bert. Like I appreciate you guys so much.
So wait, one final question, because we asked all Lincoln guys this. Who's your favorite teacher at Lincoln?
Miss Gately.
She
man, you and Josiah hit the same one.
Jeez, you guys hit it out of the park. Why is she so special?
Because a lot of the students were giving her a hard time coming in. Like if she was a new young teacher, a lot of the students were giving her a hard time, but like she cared for like her students, and she was a really good teacher, and she looked out for us. And for the ones that understood it, we made sure, like, because she was like, some of the students at our school was just terrible. I ain't gonna lie.
That's every school.
Yeah, that's every school.
Yeah. And she was just like, she was caring, and she cared about us, and she wanted us to do great in life. And a lot of us realized that at a young age, and she helped out.
And that was the first time I met you. You were a sophomore. She came to do, you did like community service at the wheelchair thing with her.
Mm-hmm. We went to go get the wheelchairs at the U-Haul thing.
Yeah, that was the first time I met you. Sophomore, I think you were that year.
Yeah.
Well, Keyshawn, thank you. You're just an absolute delight. You know I have great affection for you, young man. And if I ever get around to writing a book about the PPR, you're gonna be factoring it very much because you're one of our faves. So thank you for being a good friend of the show. Thank you for being as special as you are, and we wish you nothing but success as a Mustang. And hopefully we get to do this again right before the NFL draft or whenever you have free time for us. We can. I hope you always feel comfortable coming back and talking in this format.
Oh, always. And I thank you guys for having me again. It's a blessing.
All right. This podcast is now over. Please turn off the machines